Welcome back, folks. My name's Shane. In today's video, I'm going to talk you through one of the most frequently asked questions that come up on my channel. Should I get an S5 Mark IIX or a GH7? Now, this will come from experience with both cameras and why I'm kind of stuck on the fence deciding which second camera I should add to my new studio rig. Let's get into it. Let's talk about my use case. So as I mentioned, I'll be setting up a dedicated studio for this YouTube channel again after about a year and a half of not having one. And it's been the most challenging year and a half I've had because I have to keep continually changing things from my other YouTube channel over to this one and so forth. It's a pain. I'm gonna have all my S5 Mark IIs in my guitar studio for that YouTube channel. And I'm sort of piecing together now what I do with the tech channel. I only need a maximum of 3 cameras for this. I've already got 2 of them, the S5 Mark II and this GH7 that I'm shooting this video with. So I'm kind of leaning towards a second GH7 and I'll tell you why. 1, I've already got a whole bunch of lenses for the system. 2, I'm gonna have more in focus, which is awesome. And if I need some of those higher frame rates, this camera absolutely kills when it's just start talking about 4K 50, 60, 100, 120p. It really does look beautiful. There's no additional crops, there's no overheating in any mode, which is probably the primary reason why I won't personally ever buy the S1R Mark II. You know, that overheated so fast for me here in Australia when it's hot. It's just not a camera that I'm going to be buying personally. And while the S1R Mark II is a great photography camera, and if you're looking for a high-res sensor, it's amazing, it's not the camera for me based on its limitations with how long it can record for under studio situations or outside in the field. Now, I'm mostly talking about using cameras in the studio, but I also shoot a lot of my videos outside, and I really love doing it. It's something I want to do more and more. But when it gets hot here, the S1R Mark II is just not a camera on my radar, and I prefer the reliability and overall just usability and price point of the S5 Mark IIX. So again, I'm right on the fence with both. Now, if you're someone who has a tech YouTube channel or you're thinking about doing product reviews or whatever, having more in focus is a good thing when you're showcasing something. You know, if you're shooting at f1.8 on micro four thirds, you're going to get a shallow depth of field look around f3.6 as opposed to, you know, having to stop the full frame camera down to f3.6 and then sort of cranking up the ISO. So generally speaking, you're gonna get more in focus with micro four thirds. I used to shoot with a pair of GH5 Mark IIs and a GH6 in my studio at one point. I ended up getting some Sony cameras with the phase detection, autofocus, all that kind of stuff. And then later on the S5 Mark II came out, and that was just a great camera for my both channels basically. But I thought to myself, you know what, I might actually go back to having a dual GH7 or micro four thirds camera system in the studio that I can leave run all day. I don't have to worry about thermals and all that kind of stuff, and then have my primary camera as the S5 Mark IIX. We're going to talk more about the image quality trade-offs in just a moment, but under controlled lighting conditions, man, it's so close now. It really is. The difference now comes down to the shallow depth of field look that full frame will give you versus micro four thirds. And while you can work for the, you know, really blurry background with micro four thirds, it does take a little bit more finessing. Now, if you're on the fence between getting into either micro four thirds with the GH7 or the S5 Mark IIX with the L mount, you got to take into consideration the lenses. The lenses are great for both systems. I've said this before where I think the zoom lens advantage goes to micro four thirds. I'm using a zoom lens right now. And I think that the prime lens win goes to full frame because of the consistency in the S series of primes. It's awesome. And you've got all the lenses from Sigma as well. Where micro four thirds really shines for me is with their zoom lenses. Again, you can just find really practical and portable lenses that give you a really versatile zoom range for a lot less money, and they're far smaller. So if you plan on traveling, 24 to 70 equivalent is like this big as opposed to this big like on full frame. So you might be saying, hey, what about low light performance? Obviously this win goes to full frame, and if you plan on shooting photos or video when it gets really dark, then the full frame system is definitely the way to go. And again, you've got those beautiful prime lenses and it will just give you really clean results in low light. I've tested both cameras enough to know. But with that in mind, you can still make the GH7 or even the G9 Mark II work in a lower lit situation. I did some test photos while I was away in Perth a little while ago with the G9 Mark II and the 10 to 25mm f1.7, and I got really clean images without doing anything in post-production. So it can be done, but if you want to put your mind at ease and you don't want to have to worry about getting clean results, just go full frame. It definitely makes a huge difference. And or if you're a background blur junkie as well, if that's really important to you, full frame just makes that entire thing a lot easier. Now, when it comes to some of the faster primes for micro four thirds, they're excellent lenses. They really are. The Leica 25mm f1.4 is fantastic. I'd almost like a pair of those at some point, and I'm almost thinking that might be like my B and C cam in the studio. Another reason why I'm thinking about getting a second GH7 is there's something to be said about having redundancy, you know, like 32-bit float, thanks to that new DMW XLR2 adapter, really puts your mind at ease when it comes to getting professional audio quality. Right now I'm shooting this video, I'm using this microphone from Saramonic I recently reviewed, and this has 32-bit float internal recording. But it's great to have, you know, a shotgun microphone hooked up. Sense of redundancy is always good. If I stuff something up on the camera, I can adjust it in post and I'm going to have clean audio. So for me, that's really important. Now, while I have a GH7 already, that's kind of like future-proofing the situation. If I'm in a situation where I'm taking a matched camera pair, I'm going to have 32-bit float on both cameras, providing I do buy that adapter at some point. But yeah, I really like the fact that the GH7 supports that 32-bit float. One of the things I've come to appreciate with the GH7 over the S5 Mark IIX is the CF Express Type B card slot. Now, given I had a GH6 which had a CF Express Type B card slot, I never actually utilized it, and I didn't realize there was such a huge difference in how fast you could transfer media off these cards to an external SSD on your computer. If you're working with 100 gigabytes of files, it takes seconds as opposed to minutes, and all of these little time savers are invaluable when you're creating content all of the time. So for me, the CF Express Type B card slot is definitely a consideration. Another thing I really love about the GH7 and why I'm using it more and more out in the field is I've got a tally lamp right on the front letting me know I'm recording. I can see the screen, it's got the red record ring around it, but the tally light is awesome. It's something that once you have, it's sometimes hard to go back. And while I was making the S5 Mark IIX work, it's great to have that extra sense of redundancy. Sometimes you can double tap the record button by accident. You can sit there and talk to the camera for a few minutes and then realize you're not recording. That sucks. I can look at this camera and know exactly when I'm recording thanks to that tally lamp on the top. Now, one of the things you might be struggling with is deciding whether or not you spend more money on a micro four thirds camera or less money on a full frame camera. And the instinct here, at least with all the brainwashing that goes on online when it comes to full frame, is that the full frame camera is a better deal. I kind of think it is. So the S5 Mark IIX gets the win in terms of value for money now in 2025. You know, if they were both exactly the same price, then you sort of think to yourself, man, it's a bit of a tough decision. But if it's just a price decision, the S5 Mark IIX would be my choice if I had to recommend one or the other. But that's not to say the GH7 isn't a great camera, because I'm absolutely loving it. But I just think in terms of value for money now, at the prices they are, at least here in Australia and what I've seen on B&H in the US, the S5 Mark IIX definitely gets the win. But that's not to say you can't create great content with micro four thirds. I love using micro four thirds. And the GH7 has become basically my main camera outside, because this 12 to 35mm lens gives me everything I need when I'm out in the field, and it works beautifully. So it's a great sort of run and gun travel camera, whatever it is you want to do with it, it's a really great choice. But yeah, just in terms of sheer value for money, the S5 Mark IIX gets the win. When it comes to the higher frame rates, or if you plan on shooting 4K at 120 frames per second, the win, of course, goes to the GH7. This is something that the S5 Mark II and X can't do. And while the slow motion in 1080p looks great out of the S5 Mark IIX, it's capped at 4K 60 with an APS-C crop, so it changes your field of view, whereas on the GH7, you don't have any of those restrictions. Let's talk about this new studio setup that I'm going to be putting together, and some might say it's overkill having two separate rooms for two different channels, but after experiencing that at my old house and then moving to this place and having just one studio for both channels, it's been a nightmare. You know, having to reconnect things all the time, having to reposition tripods and cameras and all that kind of stuff. I'm done with it. This new place will have its own dedicated studio back for this channel. Now, it's going to look basically the same as my guess. I don't know quite yet what it's going to look like, but I just plan on leaving everything set up so I can walk in, hit record and get things done. I'm all about efficiency and productivity, and anytime I have to take cameras in and set them up in a different room, all that kind of stuff, I don't want to deal with it. I've been doing this too long on my other channel to I can just see the benefits of just having a dedicated setup. I've shot over 3,000 videos on my other channel, and we're almost up to 50K subs on this channel as well, which is awesome. So thanks, guys. But yeah, I just want to have the most ease of use experience I can, which will mean there'll be a dedicated shotgun microphone, and I'm going to try and just have everything set up, you know, in a really efficient way. So yeah, this is kind of what I'm thinking about, and both cameras will do a great job in that scenario. I'm kind of leaning towards the GH7 as a third camera in the studio because it just does so much so well. I've already got a whole bunch of lenses, and I think for my needs now, I think it'll be overkill, but I think it'll be probably the smarter choice moving forward with less compromises when it comes to crops. I can get great results out of this camera for slow motion in the studio, anytime I'm out in the field. I love using it. It's such a great camera, and I think having a second GH7 might be the way to go, but I'm still on the fence. Things could still change. So yeah, while I've got my primary shot covered with the S5 Mark II X, I'm leaning towards perhaps 2 GH7s. But anyway, let us know what you think. I hope this video has been helpful. Just a quick video before I pull down the studio in about a week's time as of shooting this, as I drop my hat. But yeah, fun times ahead. Crazy stuff. Anyway, let us know what you think, and I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.